This chapter deals with the preparation and use of master culture slants in order to store our cultures long term. As this segment starts, we will be soaking some medical tongue depressors in water. One of the things that I have found is that if we will put a little bit of wood into each of our test tubes, the mycelium will then move into the wood and colonize it, and our cultures will last much longer under refrigeration. This works whether it is a wood decomposing mycelium or not. It really does seem to help. So as this segment starts, we'll soak the wood, we will drop a piece into each test tube, and then we will mix up a batch of agar and pour it into our test tubes and sterilize it. When the test tubes come out of the pressure sterilizer, we're going to lay them at an angle so that as the agar cools, it'll solidify into a slant. Then later on, we will be inoculating those with mycelium from petri dishes that we have already proved to be contaminant-free. Later in this chapter, we will then take some master culture slants out of the refrigerator and use those to inoculate petri dishes in order to perpetuate the cycle. So let's watch. Incidentally, I only soak those medical tongue depressors for about a half an hour before I put them into the test tubes. That's probably not even necessary, but it does keep them from floating when you pour your agar in. Now the next step is to mix up a batch of agar as we covered in the previous chapter, and unless I'm working with a particular type of mycelium that doesn't like it, I just use malt extract agar for everything, the basic MEA. And you want to fill these test tubes about a half to 2/3 full. Once you get them filled up, take a paper towel and wipe the area around the threads, and then screw your lids down tight. I screw them all the way down tight, and then take it over to the sink and wash off any agar that you spilled before you put them in the pressure cooker. The next step is to sterilize them. I like to give them about 20 minutes at 15 psi or 100 kPa. Now, because of the fact that we screwed the lids on tight, you don't want to do anything to speed up the cool down process or you'll end up exploding your test tubes. Just turn the stove off when your time expires and walk away. When you come back and you can handle the pressure cooker without burning your hands, go ahead and take the tubes out. They'll still be liquid, and just lay them at an angle to cool. You want to give them about a 25 to 30 degree angle, as you can see in this picture. Just use anything you have handy around the house. I use the weight from the pressure cooker, but just anything you have to get them at an angle about like this will work fine. One thing that I will be repeating over and over again during this entire section on agar, and especially here when we're working with master culture slants, there just is not a place you can cut corners with your sterile procedure. We're going to be saving these cultures for sometimes a couple of years before we get them back out again. So any molds, any bacteria, just any contaminants whatsoever, and your cultures will be ruined. So this next scene is going to open when I'm already about to make the transfers, but understand the flow hood has been running for about 2 hours, and during that 2 hours the air has been sanitized with an antibacterial spray. I've taken a shower and washed my hair, brushed my teeth, used mouthwash. I get dressed with clean surgical scrubs that have come right out of the laundry. I put on surgical gloves and Tyvek wrist sleeves. I have a surgical mask, a hairnet on. All of the surfaces of the table have been wiped down with alcohol. including the wire rack you see that is used to elevate the Petri dishes up into the flow of the hood. The face of the flow hood itself was sprayed with disinfectant spray prior to turning it on. The test tubes themselves have been washed with alcohol, and you just saw that I sanitized the surface of the Petri dish we'll be transferring from with alcohol. Notice that in order to minimize exposure, I opened the lid of the Petri dish, made a very small cut, took the piece of mycelium on the scalpel, and then closed the lid of the Petri dish before opening the lid on our test tube. Once the lid on the test tube was open, I quickly made the transfer, then put the lid right back on the test